You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. So Mike Denbrock met with reporters on Monday after practice. I love the fact that we're actually going to get access to coordinators, and it's very refreshing. I mean, it's been a long time. I know it sounds repetitive, but it's been a long time since we've had this kind of access, and it's great. It's great to be able to talk to the offensive coordinator about what he expects. And Denbrock went into a lot of detail about the quarterback position and sort of what they expect and what they're looking for. Let's start with three, if we could, Muse. This is LSU's offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock, talking about what he's looking for in a quarterback.
Number one, we want someone who can run the system of offense that we're putting in. And it's an adjustable system. So that doesn't mean, hey, well, I remember where Coach came from, so that must mean this guy's got a leg up. It doesn't mean that. What it means more is what's in place for our offensive unit with the skill players that we have and who we have offensively playing to the strengths of that unit. So whoever really commands that the best and really who kind of takes ownership of the offense. We're looking for those guys to compete with each other, of course, but we're also looking for those guys to kind of somebody step out in front, somebody take the reins of this thing and really kind of be that guy that everybody looks to that upholds the standard of playing quarterback at LSU. And so those things in particular, yeah, of course, we don't want somebody who throws interceptions or fumbles the ball around or doesn't know how to check protections. But more than anything, I think the strength of the unit a lot of times, and especially we're a very quarterback-driven system, that guy's got to have command of what we're doing out there.
Okay, so that's important. He said we're a quarterback-driven system, and that might sound obvious because it's the most important position in team sports. We all know that, but there are different offenses where quarterbacks don't have to be the focal point. I mean, we've talked about Jake Coker winning a national championship at Alabama. He didn't have to be the dude. That's different in what Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock are trying to do. Here is Denbrock elaborating on the offense being quarterback-driven.
I think that at its core, it's a quarterback-driven offense, which means they're all learning how to drive the offense, whether that – and I think when people think of, okay, how adaptable is the offense? Well, they look back at maybe what we did a little bit at Cincinnati where we were a little bit more of a read zone team and did some things like that. And people may not believe that all four of the quarterbacks that are in battling it out right now have the ability to do that. So how, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. When really what I mean by that as much as anything is that if read zone didn't happen to be a part of what we were doing, it won't greatly alter the fact that the offense is going to be driven by the quarterback from whether the protection is set right, whether the plays are adjusted at the line of scrimmage, how many audibles we use, and all those types of things. We have all that kind of as piece of our playbook that we can implement depending on who that guy ends up being.
He continues to say they want a running quarterback without saying they want a running quarterback and then insisting they don't want a running quarterback. But you can look at how this rotation has shaken out right now with Nussmeier, Daniels, then Brennan, and then Howard, who we know is likely to redshirt, why they're running the way they are. Specifically, because the quarterbacks have different skill sets, what about changing play calls based on the quarterback?
I don't know how much the play calling in particular would change. Maybe some of the options off the plays would change is from a play calling standpoint. I think mobility is a key anytime at the quarterback position, especially when you're playing against some of the dynamic athletes that there are up front in SEC defenses. So that's always, I think, a good thing to have, but I don't think it's necessarily the defining thing that's going to make the decision.
So good thing to have, not the defining thing, but it's something that they want. And listen, I understand why. And real quick, to prove his point, last year, Brian Kelly at Notre Dame was replacing a 4-year starter in Ian Book, who was a mobile quarterback. And the guy who won the starting job was Jack Cohn, the Wisconsin transfer. Jack Cohn is about as mobile as I am, which is to say, dude can't move. But he won the job. By the way, that also tells you sort of a timeline. I went back and looked this up today. Jack Cohn was named the starting quarterback on August the 14th, basically 2 weeks of camp. That's what they're going to do as well. Mike Denbrock, look, play Muse if you would, the number 8. They asked Denbrock if he'd like to have his quarterback settled here in fall camp.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there comes a line of demarcation of, we've got to get ready to win game one, and who gives us the best opportunity to do that. We're not, as you know, anywhere close to that yet, but those decisions will be made by Coach Kelly, obviously, when the cutoff happens, and hopefully it's an easy decision. Maybe somebody actually really separated themselves enough where it's so obvious that the decision happens sooner. Maybe there's 2 guys that are just battling each other, and it's awesome. You know what I mean? Maybe there's 3. The more the merrier at times, but we also got to get ready to play the season and get ready to win football games.
So you saw the example a year ago. Brian Kelly named Jack Cohn the starter August the 14th last year. 2 weeks of camp, they'll name a starter. They'll spend 2 weeks getting ready for Florida State. That makes the most sense. But this is all the quarterback conversation for me. I understand why it's going to be the thing everybody wants to talk about because it's quarterback. But for me, the biggest concern on the team now is the offensive line, having gone and seen it today. The fact that Garrett Dellinger is repping as your first-team center and has never played center, and the fact that Fitzgerald West, a true freshman, who is a high school defensive lineman, was repping at second center, the fact that Charles Turner's been on campus 4 years and can't win that starting job, the fact that you had a true freshman left tackle in Will Campbell, which I think we expected, but nonetheless, that still is a yo. That Tremont Shorts was your left guard and Miles Frazier was your right guard today, running with the 2 transfers. I mean, and Bradford was your right tackle. It is, and then you had 2 true freshmen on your second team with Fitzgerald West at center and Emory Jones at left guard. That bodes well for the future. That's got a lot of young guys that are talented and you're excited about them. It's concerning for this year. Here was Denbrock on the offensive line in flux.
It's in flux. I guess we're still, I think, in the identification phase of who are the best 5 guys actually going to be. Right now there's some moving around, some moving parts here and there. We've got a couple guys, obviously, that we didn't have in the spring that need to be evaluated. Whether that's a young guy or a veteran that's been here that's kind of back in the fray. We've got to get a feel for how they fit with the other pieces of the puzzle up there. Who's the guards, who's the tackles, who's the center, quite frankly, and just dig through that some more. So, 5 practices into it, I don't know that we're ready to kind of solidify everything we want to have solidified there, but within the next week or so, we'll be a lot closer.
And it will be fascinating. I told you that when they were running a sort of a red zone type drill with the full offense that we got to see today, the third snap from Garrett Dellinger rolled back to Jaden Daniels. I mean, that's something that has to be automatic. When in 2018 they were repping Chasen Hines at center, and I'm sorry, not 2018, 2020 they were repping Chasen Hines at center, and he could not get the shotgun snap, which is why Liam Shanahan ultimately played center because Hines could not get the shotgun snap. So I'm not trying to tell you that one error, that one errant snap, is a condemnation on Garrett Dellinger as a center. But if you've never played center, the most important part is getting the shotgun snap. And is the exchange. And how quickly can you be super comfortable with that? I mean, it is for me the thing, singular, that has become the most worrisome right now for this LSU team. I think the defensive line looked as advertised today. Even some of those young guys, Quincy Wiggins is just so impressive looking. I think the linebackers are going to be fun to watch as well, the way that they fly around. And boy, you have so many bodies in that secondary. We didn't talk much about it, but when you look at a guy like Jay Ward, who's been so good, when we were looking at some of the individuals, I mean, you had Fouché and Brooks and Burns. I mean, you had guys repping ahead. I mean, Sage Ryan was like the 6th safety repping, which is crazy. It's because of 5-star. So I think you got plenty of good players on the defensive side. I think you got great receivers and you got good, skilled, talented backs. Maybe not a ton of them, but you got good ones. That offensive line, they've they got to figure it out. And the team drills, scrimmages, which we're going to get to see, will be very telling. Because if LSU's defensive line is the strength of the team, like a lot of us have talked like it is, it'll be a great test for that offensive line whenever they get out there. So, our next media availability for us to watch practice is on Thursday. We'll get your practice report then. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.